A very good evening to you. Welcome to the West Ham Voice, the West Ham Weekly on a Monday night on the West Ham Voice. Thank you all for joining me. Yes, my eyes are blurry. I haven't quite gotten over Sunday's trip to Sheffield United yet. I've been suffering all day. I've been working all day as well. Been working to quite late, but the hangover is well and truly stuck. I've tried taking paracetamol. I've tried doing various things, having a bit of a lie down and stuff like that. And it's not doing any good. So you're going to have to forgive me because I'm not really at my best. But welcome. Got some update news, latest news actually, before I start on anything else. And that's about David Moyes. Now, apparently, this whole rumor about David Moyes getting a new contract, etc. There's a slight twist to the story. It seems as if Moyes is offered a contract. No, look, I haven't got this corroborated, so you're going to have to bear with me. It's just stuff that I've heard, I mean, literally about 10 minutes ago. Apparently, if we are going to be offering David Moyes a new contract, it's not going to be based on, KPIs and all that sort of stuff, but it could be done on a 1-year rolling contract extension. So instead of getting a 2.5-year deal or a 2-year deal, 1.5-year deal, whatever, the latest is apparently if David Moyes is offered a new contract at the end of this season, then it will be all down to it being a 1-year rolling contract. Will he accept that? Who knows? Maybe he will, maybe he won't. We don't know. I don't think we're really going to really know the truth about all this until much later on in the season. As you sort of, I mean, we talked about just at the end of December, we were talking about David Moyes. He talked about being in negotiations, in talks with the club about a new contract, and the club itself, said that they were keen on talking to Moyes about a new contract. And then there was all this stuff about maybe a 2.5-year deal being rolled out, but apparently it's now potentially a 1-year rolling contract. Would we accept that? Well, I guess it all really depends on what happens between now and the end of the season, doesn't it? How well are we going to continue doing at West Ham United? We're currently still in 6th place. Even the teams behind us with a game in hand, even if they win that, I think might be Brighton. If they win that, they still can't catch us up. We've got a gap between us and Man United of several points, I think 5 points. So that's good, even though we slipped up, and I'm going to talk about the game, the Sheffield United game in a moment. But even that, we've got a healthy-ish points advantage over the teams below us. Okay, anything can happen. It wouldn't take very long for a team to catch us up if we slipped up anymore. I'm well aware, in January. So someone came out with this. In January so far, we haven't won a game. Well, we've only played, 3? 2 of them are in the FA Cup and then the Sheffield United game. I'm not sure that we played any other games, have we? Let me just double check because, I mean, it's a great stat. We haven't won a game in January. Moyes out, and you kind of laugh and you go, come on, people, for goodness sake. What have we had? We've had, we had the draw against Brighton, 0-0 draw against Brighton, then the draw against Bristol City. And then we went and lost at Bristol City last week. And then the draw against Sheffield United. So, yeah, it's, factually correct. We haven't won a game in January. But, and that's it. We haven't got any other games, have we? Now we've got a 10-day break until our next game, which is against Bournemouth on the 1st of February, the day that the transfer window shuts. David Moyes has already complained about that. If you recall, our first game in January was on the 1st. Excuse me 1 second. Our first game was the first day of the January transfer window, and our next game will be on the last day of the January transfer window. I'm going to talk about the transfer window as well. There's not a lot to tell you, but I'll tell you what I do know. Because when we start looking at the Asian market, we're clutching. There's not a lot of action happening. But apparently, I'm going to update you on Victor Boniface as well from Bayer Leverkusen. Interesting one, that one. If you may have noticed, he's not in the AFCON, by the way, and there's a good reason for that. So I'll update you on that too. But let's go into the chat first of all and see who's there and bid you all a good evening. Let's scroll all the way to the very top. Who have we got? Flameur, you're first tonight, mate. I hope you're well. Good evening to you. Mr. Dan, how are you, mate? I did say I was going to contact you, didn't I? My apologies, mate. I hope you're well. The baby's due soon. I can't remember when you said. My memory's shit, mate. So I hope you're well. Mark, good evening, mate. I know we're missing a few players, but we did not look like a team 14 places above Sheffield United yesterday. 4 years and David Moyes still has not built any real squad depth. I agree with that. And I did say during the game, especially at half time, without our key players, we're an average mid-table Premier League team. Unfortunately. Truth, though. Good evening, Maltese. I hope you're well, mate. Thank you for joining. Good evening, Foxes. How are you? Yeah, we were great. Ings was world class. Look, give credit where credit's due because, when players need to be criticised, they do need to be criticised. When they need to be praised, you've got to be praised. Danny Ings, I mean, we were looking at each other and going, hang on a minute. He's actually playing reasonably well. He played in a different position. I'll talk about that in a moment after I said hello to people. Good evening, Daniela. Looking like Kudus got at least one more game in it. Yeah, they're 2-0 up. They're winning 2-0. 2 penalties against Mozambique, both scored by Jordan Ayew, and Kudus started tonight. So fingers crossed he gets through that game unscathed. Good evening to you, Howard. I hope you're well, mate. Good evening, Paul. I can send you another grovelling apology for the VAR refereeing mistake coming from the... I'm going to talk about that as well, mate, because it was just awful. The last 6 minutes of that game were bizarre, to say the least. Good evening, Shaky. I hope you're well, mate. Flammer, still 4 years, same shit. We can't beat champions teams and bottom of the Premier League team. Yeah, I get it, mate. I do get it. But like I said, without those players, those key players, we look like an average, team in the Premier League. Toho, good evening to you. I plan to be fashionably late like Stel, but could not be bothered trying to look that cool. Plus, I'm not riddled with spice. Howard, if you're referring to Marilyn Manson, I'm with you. Good evening. What time did I start? No idea, really. About 9:33, wasn't it? You're all guessing what time I started. Who won the bet? You really should start betting on it. Someone's going to win a bit of money, aren't they? Who else have we got? Good evening, Clive. I hope you're well, mate. I'm hungover. Good evening, Hammerette. I hope you're well. Peter, good evening to you. Cat litter trays must need emptying. Well, everything happens that one of the 3 cats is fucking ill. It's not been well for the past few weeks. I don't know if I said that the other week, and he's getting better, but he's been a bit of a nightmare. And when you say cat litter trays need emptying, you're not fucking wrong. Good evening, Hammerite. I hope you're well. Sod Phillips been sitting, taking the money rather than play football. Says all you need to know. Look, there's another story that came out today. I think they were interested before that Juventus have reared their head again. Apparently, they were interested earlier in the January window, and then it all went quiet. And apparently, they're in again. And the story is that Phillips is now having second thoughts about West Ham. I believe he will sign for us, but I'm going to get back to all that later as well. Who else have we got? Good evening, David. I hope you're well, mates. Thank you for joining. Mr. Clark, how are you? After those questionable decisions late in the game, did we actually deserve the point? Well, yes. Honestly, as bad. Look, we didn't play great. We didn't play shit. I mean, for the supporter who isn't either a Sheffield United fan or a West Ham fan, I think it was quite. I think they would have enjoyed that game. It had everything in it. 2 penalties, questionable decisions, goals, etc. 4 goals in it. Look, I actually think we deserved all 3 points, but then I would say that, wouldn't I? Have I hit the spice rum again? Not today. Not today. Peter, what annoys me is a couple of years ago, Man United were awarded a penalty after the full-time whistle. So the Bowen penalty should have been at least checked. Both those decisions should have been checked. Obsidian, good evening to you, mates. Like our sign, always late. They will be late signings. Mark, hello, mate. Thank you for joining. Exactly, Maltese. You've got to press that like button. And if you're new to the channel, bear with me. This is not my best tonight. I'm telling you now, mind you, many people will say, what's the difference? Drunk or not drunk, hungover or not hungover? This is still all the way through. But seriously, if you're new to the channel, do hit the like button. Do hit the subscribe button. Become a subscriber. Doesn't cost you anything. And you need to hit that bell notification to let you know when I'm next going to be late on. Robert, good evening to you. So I was waiting for are they playing tonight? I didn't even know. I really didn't. I've been really busy today, really, really busy. And trying to do spreadsheets with a hangover is not the best thing to do. I'll tell you that. Ghana 2-0 up. Yes. Egypt 1-1. Interesting. Egypt 1-1. We're actually, Ghana are lying second in the table. If it finishes like that, Ghana will be second in the table and they'll just about be through, wouldn't they? Mark. They're supposed to keep the players on the pitch if the whistle has gone and there is a VAR decision to be made. He had plenty of time to make that decision. You know, you can't blame full time for not making a decision on Bowen. Howard, still getting chastised by the missus. To be honest, Ghana should have gone through. They had a very easy group. They're doing it, aren't they now? Who else have we got? Who's going to be going first through the door? Phillips or Good evening, Ballon. I hope you're well. Moyes has confirmed Phillips needs time to adjust to the Premier League. Debut penciled in. Good evening, Scott. I hope you're well, mate. Hammerette. I'm still fuming about VAR. That twat ref yesterday was the same bellend that was in VAR when Onana smashed the Wolves player and got nothing, only later to come out with a pathetic apology. He messed up. He messed up really, really badly. Bill, sobered up. I am sober. I'm just very tired. Anthony, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Good evening to you, Finn. How are you? What will happen first? Danny Ings' next goal or Phillips getting started? Finn, I'm going to go for a Danny Ings first goal. Jerry, we need Egypt to win as Ghana would come third and play a team that won their group. Doesn't look like that's happening at this moment at the time. Steve, have a hair of the dog, mate. No way I'm going near any alcohol for quite a while yet. Thank God there's no game until the 1st of February. I can actually, say I'm not drinking anything until then. That won't happen. Foxes, almost as bad hostage video. Andy, good evening to you, mate. Hope you're well on this blustering night. My God, last night was blustery. When I got home, when I actually got out of the station, I thought I was going to be blown over. Mind you, I don't know if that was because I was drunk or whether because it was the wind, but it was blustery. I mean, for the cats not to go out all day, it must have been pretty shit out there. Hammerette, I appreciate you coming on and giving us a show. Always a pleasure. I don't know how good a show it's going to be, but thank you all for probably taking the piss out of me now, looking at the state I'm in. Martin, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. What? I'm not back. I'm not patting myself on the back. I tell you, mate, it's fucking horrible. Mark, fry up and a Bloody Mary in the morning. Yeah, I couldn't face it. I almost threw up about 3 times this morning. Jack, good evening to you, mate. Phillips won't go to West Ham because he's too lazy and he'd rather sit on the bench. I did a show last week for those of you who watched it when I said how would Phillips fit into this team. That was a week. I can't believe that was a week ago already. And I still believe that actually, if he does come to us, it would be a decent move. It would actually give us quite a bit of a different feel in the center of midfield, and also gives us an option. Like we're struggling at the back, as I said last week as well, and it would mean that Alvarez can drop in at the back. You can play 3 at the back with Alvarez and 2 other central defenders, and then have Phillips in the middle of the park. Now, look, I don't want Alvarez to go at the back because I think he does a fantastic job in our holding midfield area. But look, he's out injured at the moment, so and we've been saying throughout the season, it'd be great to have a bit of cover for Alvarez when he's not available for injuries and stuff like that. So I actually wouldn't mind Phillips coming to West Ham, to be honest with you, and it's taken me a while to get my head around it. But it wouldn't be the worst signing we would ever have. Epic. Why can't the board just wait until the end of the season before offering Moyes a contract? You know what, Epic? It probably, I think I again alluded to this last week. It might go that way. It might take quite a while before this contract has been negotiated. And I wouldn't be surprised if we get to somewhere like, I don't know, March and nothing has materialized yet. Wouldn't be surprised. Please tell Matt, know about what, mate? You're going to have to make me understand what you're saying. Know about. Anderson, how are you, mate? You're not driving the bus. You're not. Anderson is a good friend. And yeah, I don't know which part of London he drives the buses on, but boy, oh boy, I love seeing your comments on Facebook when someone tries to give you lip, mate. It's hilarious. I hope you're well, Anderson. Thanks for joining. Epic. I mean, I hope he doesn't get a new contract, but at the very least, don't give it to him prematurely. Yeah. I think that's fair. I think that's understandable and that's fair. Good evening, CC. I don't see us losing many games when we have our players back, plus a couple of quality additions. We had it. What does everyone else think? I agree. Look, let's be realistic and let's be really honest. And I know people are saying, spending so much money and not having the strength in depth. When we started the season, yeah, and I remember waxing lyrical about the squad that we had when we started the season, and we got Kudus in and Alvarez and all the other players, etc. And we said, wow, on top of a Gerd, on top of Bowen, on top of Paqueta, etc. Look what we got, Kudus and Alvarez and a Gerd and Bowen and all these players. And we were going, wow, what a squad. Little did we realize that it was, wow, what a very, very decent first team. And so many players fell away. Now, look, I think some players put in some decent performances against Sheffield United. Look, not to the level by any imagination of the likes of what Kudus and Paqueta and all that can deliver, but they did better. And maybe because of that, Moyes might be starting to have second thoughts. The way he utilised things looked like we got more out of him. The way he utilised Ben Johnson, who saw that coming? Because there was the chanting in the crowd when Johnson came on and Cornet came off of, you don't know what you're doing, and then all of a sudden we saw this masterclass of midfield. What we were like, hang on a minute, he's not going to right back, because everyone was saying, no one knows what they're doing. Johnson just came on in the middle of the park and just sort of like, he was pointing fingers and stuff. But, people were like, what, when's he going over to the right? And he didn't. And he actually played extremely well, and all of a sudden you start asking yourself, you get confused as a West Ham fan, because you become acclimatized and accustomed to Ings playing and being pretty shit. You become acclimatized to some of what we call the fringe players or the squad players starting and thinking they've not delivered anything. But I think Johnson, for example, has delivered extremely well every time he's been used over the past month or so. Every time he's played, I think he's put in a decent shift. Ings was like a different player on Sunday. The way he was used, a slightly deeper number 10 role, and ironically it kind of suited him. But I think you're right. I think we've got a very decent squad. We do need our players back. Paqueta and Alvarez back, and Bowen was a little bit rusty, and that would it's not no surprise. But when we got all these players back, we've got a formidable team. And if now, some of the players that we've got in the squad, like Ings and Johnson, etc., that adds to, we've got Antonio coming back soon and stuff like that. That adds to the squad that we've got. All of a sudden, instead of Moyes looking on the bench and going, I don't know who I need to use, and there's no one on there that's as good as what I've got out there. Okay, Ings is never going to be as good as, I don't know, Paqueta. And Antonio, I actually think Bowen has surpassed Antonio. Is never going to be as good but as utility players, as squad players, not utility, sorry, as squad players coming on for 15, 20 minutes, great. The thing that Moyes needs to do now is to not wait and give them only 5-10 minutes at the end of a game. When it's right to do so, bring them on sooner. Give them the 20 minutes that people have been saying, half an hour and stuff like that, to make an impression and to be able to get into a game? I don't know. Maybe I'm clutching. I don't know. Maybe I'm clutching at straws and thinking that it could get better. But sorry, CC, a long answer to a short statement. As soon as we get our players back, we will have a decent squad again. Shaky. Phillips made it quite clear we were beneath him back in the summer. This is what I'm worried about. Has Juventus come in and all of a sudden he's believing that the grass is greener? It probably end up staying on the bench at Man City, won't he? David, negative title. If I can see where everybody's saying talks of game well behind between Man City and West Ham. Well, look, it's because of it taking so long. It's taking so long for this Phillips deal. For all I know, tomorrow morning you'll end up hearing that he's signed. Look, the signs are that we are from what I understand, are the closest to signing him than anybody else at this moment in time. But then, as people always say, unless that contract's signed, anything can happen right up to the last moment. Things could change. Could something like a Juventus interest sway Phillips? Could do. He'll see them as a big team. I don't know. Are they still in the Champions League? I've really got no clue. But if they're still playing European football, Champions League level, then Phillips is going to fancy that, isn't he? All right, we're still in Europe, but who knows? I am very Obsidian. He should get a 5-game at a time contract. Save Sully have to threaten him every time we lose. 5-minute contract. P-Gads, good afternoon from a cold and snowy Detroit. Mate, we've joined you. Well, we've always been cold. Not snowy, but cold, yeah. I hope you're well, P-Gads. Hammer it. Phillips is far better option than Tati and JWP in mid when Alvarez is out. Well, yeah, he's a natural holding midfielder, isn't he? David, Tim bringing in 2 more bodies to help with his project surely means Moyes won't have control over signings. Well, we've talked about this. Whether Moyes stays or not, the understanding is now that they are working together. They're working in tandem. They're not working one against the other. I know it makes good headlines, doesn't it? Steidten and Moyes at loggerheads over signings, etc., etc. I think that sells, doesn't it? Bad news always sells a lot easier than good news. And I saw the stories a few week or so ago when we were linked to Phillips. Apparently there was this story out that this is a Moyes signing and Steidten doesn't want him and stuff like that. Look, I think it kind of worked. Look, we all want what's best for West Ham, and I'm sure that the people that work there also do. I can't see that it would serve any purpose in Steidten and Moyes having disagreements. Look, they won't always agree. I mean, how many of you agree with everybody that you work with? You have your own opinions on stuff, but I'm sure that they will agree to disagree on some signings. But I think on the whole, they've got an understanding between them now that they're going to be working together to get the right players in. Dan, if Moyes gets us European football again, I get the feeling they'll keep him on, but without it, I think he'll be off. I think that's very, very, very likely indeed. Let's scroll down. Who else have we got? Flamer. No deal for Moyes, please. Had enough of boring shit, mate. I'd rather have Scooby-Doo than Moyes. Finn, has Moyes been told to drop down the table because he can't get approval from LLDC for Champions League anthem? Can't get approval. Are you joking or is that sick? I've heard, I was asked a question actually the other day. Apparently there's this story that we're likely to lose the stadium. Now, I don't know where that's come from, and I don't know how true that is, but we've got a cast iron guarantee on the stadium. There's no way that we're going to lose our play. Look, LLDC have got issues. They've always had sort of issues with running the stadium and the cost of it, etc. But even if they don't end up running the stadium any longer, someone else comes in. The deal that we've got is cast iron. Whilst that place remains as a stadium, of course, if someone comes in and buys the land and goes, we don't want a stadium there anymore, that's a different matter altogether. But whoever takes that stadium on will have to abide by the contract that's there for West Ham. We haven't won a game so far. Yep, just talked about that. Good evening to you, Graham. I hope you're well, mate. Thank you for joining. Stephen, good evening to you, mate. What do you do for a day job? I work for a charity. I head up their operations team. Lee, hi, stay on chat. Hit the like. Yes, please do. Hit the like button. Clive, please remember to tap. Thank you very much. And fed up with negative narrative. Let's hope Kudus Ghana go out so he can come back to us quicker. Should be saying good luck to Ghana, having a good tournament. He'd be on cloud 9 coming back. He would be. But it looks like they're going through. Dan, Bonifaci won't be joining. Fee will be too high. And he's out till 8. Exactly that. Hammer, are you feeling okay? Peaky. I'm absolutely fine. Alexia, thank you for joining. Thanks for everything that you do. My pleasure. You're doing a stellar work. Thank you very much, and thank you for joining. Full-time Brighton versus Wolves. There you go. What a crap tip. Well, look, and look how much we laud Brighton. They can't even beat lowly Wolves. I mean, come on. Mark, Phillips with Alvarez solid. Paqueta free to play and pressure off an aging defense. Sign him up. Exactly. There's an awful lot. It makes an awful lot of sense signing Phillips, to be quite honest with you. Good evening, NWO. How are you? Good evening, Keith Broadway. How are you? Is it just me, or are we getting boring to watch? It was a scrappy game, and thanks, ref. Do you know the irony? I don't think yesterday's game was boring. I think yesterday's game was quite entertaining. It just so happens that we wanted to get the 3 points. It was a more entertaining game than recently. Let's put it that way. Peter, such shame we still haven't got Dawson. Our centre backs are unreliable as hell. Yeah, I agree. Steve, good evening to you, mates. Great news if Donkey Phillips snubs us again. Well, there you go. So some people don't want him. Peter, good to see you again before the game. Good to see you too, Peter. Thanks for saying hello. I might have been a little bit okay at the time that you said hello. Who knows? I can't remember. NWO, fix that they don't want us in the Champions League. Happened a couple of seasons ago. Yeah, I've heard this. The sort of the conspiracy theories that I just think it was absolutely shit refereeing and absolutely shit VAR. And I've got my theory is that I think the referee was too embarrassed to go back to the VAR screen after having to go the first time to give the red card. Anthos, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Not that we deserve to win, but these refs are disgusting. I think we edged it, but then I would say that, wouldn't I? But yeah, the refs are shit. Terrible refereeing. Sean, good evening to you. Any signings should have been in the door weeks ago. I agree. Last minute bullshit once again. 0 arrivals and deadline day bollocks. Evening to you as well. I totally agree. How many times have we been told we're going to do our business early and it gets to halfway and we've still got nothing? And you just know that we're going to get. Look, my understanding is I think Phillips will sign this week if he's not swayed enough with the likes of Juventus knocking on the door. And then we probably will get a second signing, and that will probably go down to the wire, which is annoying. Bill, would Moyes really have played Alvarez and Phillips alongside each other and drop? Well, he doesn't have to drop Souček. When everyone's back, you'd expect that he will drop Souček if he signs Phillips. But I've got a theory that I think we could possibly go to a 3 at the back. And I think he'll put Alvarez at the back and put Phillips in to replace him. I don't know why. I've got that stuck in my head that he's quite likely, if he signs Phillips and brings Alvarez into defence, he's quite likely to do that. Usual, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Daniela, but every team had bad runs when key players were out. That's why the league's so close. Yeah, that's a really good point. And GP, thank you. Honestly, I really do appreciate that. I never ask for. I don't ask for money, but thank you so much. I can go and buy myself some paracetamol tomorrow when YouTube takes its commission. I'll have enough to go and buy myself some decent paracetamol. I really am grateful. Thank you, GP. David, don't forget who's our manager. If we get Phillips, he will drop Alvarez to centre back. Yeah, I do actually think that. Mark, would that be such a bad thing? Our centre backs are, like someone said, we're all over the place at the moment. In fact, I think the best centre back we've got at the moment is sitting on the bench, which is Ogbonna. You know, he comes on, he doesn't seem to let you down. Zuma, his legs are, I mean, you know, it's really quite interesting when you're at a game and you're standing, you know, bit behind the goal and you're watching, you know, you're watching the game where how the goalie's watching it. Zuma is fucked. I'm surprised the man can even run. Finn, how were the red light delights in Sheffield still? And you recommend, oh, no, I don't do any of that silly stuff. John, good evening to you. Planking a bottle of rum, hoping it's still there later. That's so if you don't know what if anyone, I mean, I did a review after the game on the train on the way home. It was shit. It was awful. I was too drunk to do it and I shouldn't have done it. But I told the story, mate. It was a whole bottle of rum. It was like we had half a bottle left of spiced rum. There's no way we were gonna leave it, give it away. And so we got out of the Sheffield station and we were like, we need to dump this stuff. You know, there was a few bits of shit in a bag, and one of them was half a bottle of rum. And we were looking for somewhere to dump it. We found a bush, and I was squeezing the bag behind the bush and covering the bush up. Two old Bill was standing at the top of the stairs at the station, just laughing their heads off. And I'm like, what do you do? And they went, we didn't see it. Off you go. We got back. Bottle was still there. There you go. That's the way you do it. CC. Phillips would be a great addition to our team. There was a plonker on Sky, don't know his name, saying Phillips needs to go to a team with better players. What better players are you going to have than Man City? Who has better players than Paqueta? Well, we are the next one. We've got to be the next ones, haven't we? Trini, good evening to you. Without the officials, we win that regardless of how bad we play. I totally agree. Totally agree. Kane Perry, good evening to you. Still, this is an intervention. An intervention of what, Kane? Good evening to you. Let's scroll down. Here's we've got Montana. Good evening, mate. I hope you're well. It begs the question: why has Moyes never tried Ben Johnson as central defensive midfield? How long has he been in the squad? Honestly, mate, I agree. I mean, we were all like, "There's no way he's going to be able to do a job here," but apparently Johnson played midfield in his youth in the youth academy. I didn't know that either. You know, I mean, I know about Mabama, who started off as a defender and at the age of something like 15 ended up becoming a striker. But I had no clue that Ben Johnson, boy, oh boy, he played really well. Let's be honest. He played really well. Good evening to you, Matt. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining, mate. Leicester and Ipswich 1-1. That means Southampton stay above them, I think. I'm not sure. I could be wrong. What else have we got? Sean. Bat hit Sheffield United defender. Bat hit Sheffield United's arm before Bowen's hand. The ball hit Sheffield United's arm. I didn't see that. All we saw was that Bowen was dragged down. Peter, when you sign African players, you know there is a risk they will miss games because of AFCON. Absolutely. Montana. If I am the board, we are not sanctioning the Phillips deal. We are getting our pants pulled down for 7 million sterling. Absurd. Well, I asked about that. I said, I heard a rumor. Of course, it's Sean that I asked. I said, I heard a rumor that we can't afford to sign Phillips. And he went, well, sort of. And apparently, I don't understand this £7 million loan deal, because apparently Sean reckons we won't pay a £7 million loan deal. So I don't really understand what's going on. Look, he's on about 130 odd grand a week, and Man City don't want to subsidise any of that. Why should they? Why should they subsidise any of his salary? But apparently, I didn't quite understand, Sean. He reckons that we won't be paying the £7 million loan deal. So I'm confused about that, to be quite honest with you. John, looking for the ink to dry January for Stell. Is it far too late? Trini, cats hate wind, messes with their hearing. I didn't know. Wow. No, I didn't know that. Montana, where are Tim Steidten signings? We keep getting linked with Moyes targets like Broha. £50 million is Bowley having a laugh. Maybe at Paqueta, Chris. I can guarantee we're not signing Broha. And at the end of the week, we'll have gone, we've just signed Broha on loan. No, apparently we are. I keep asking. We're not interested in Broha. Trini. For me, if Phillips comes in, him and Alvarez play, protect the defense, have actual 10 competition for Sojek and JWP2. Good point. Good evening, Paul. My rum drinker in crime. It's his fault. that I got absolutely smashed. Him and Wiggy, we got smashed. Even still, good job. One of us was sensible. You did the right thing by falling asleep on the train on the way back, mate. Debbie and Mark, weird thing to chuck in, but I'd take Jose as manager. Stel and others would love to hear your thoughts. Well, my thoughts are, if you think that Moyes' ball is boring, think how boring it will be under Mourinho. Mind you, we'll probably win an awful lot of stuff, wouldn't we? But Mourinho is the master of parking the bus in front of the in front of the goal, isn't he? So I don't know, to be honest with you. Would he be any better? Would he get more out of the likes of Kudus and Paqueta and all that? Don't know, because he's also a defensive-minded coach, isn't he? Flimmer, mate, can you be like tonight every day? You look cool and really funny. We're like, no, I'm not getting drunk every Sunday so I can present a show when I'm half fucked. Hammerit, going into the Asian market is good business for the club. However, if we screw it up like we have many times before with players, then we could have a whole new lot of hate. We could indeed. Johnny Heitinger is the next West Ham manager. I wouldn't be surprised, John, to be honest with you. Garino, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. See Brighton drew with Wolves, so we're still 6. We will. I think that was the game in hand, wasn't it? Yeah, and I think we're 5 points ahead of Man United, aren't we? Anthos, 89 minutes. Oh, 2-1 Ghana. Wow, interesting. Shaky, 16 games in 18 months. You think Phillips will move? You would think so, wouldn't you? Mark, good evening. Glad you got back from Rumfuel, Sheffield. Thank you, mate. Much appreciated. Garino, looks like Phillips' loan will be part of a trifecta. 2 permanent signings being mooted as well. Well, I wish I knew what they were, because we're now clutching when we start talking about the Asian market, aren't we? Trini, I don't know if the players fell away. They achieved what they did without Kudus and Alvarez. JWP, Moyes had depreciated the players by not keeping them motivated. 2-2. Wow, Ghana, 2-2. Well. Mozambique is the weakest team. So we might get our wish after all. That Ghana may be coming home earlier than they expect. Wow. Bill, Johnson has a smile on his face giving out instructions. Mate, honestly, I've always liked Johnson. I know he's got a lot of criticism from the West Ham fans over the years. A couple of seasons ago, he had a superb season. He fell away quite badly last season, and now all this contract stuff about him. And I would love Johnson to stay at West Ham, not just because he's one of our own and all that sort of stuff, but I would love him to stay at West Ham, and if he can reinvent himself as a central defensive midfielder, fuck me, why not? That'd save us a lot of money in the market, wouldn't it? Garino, have the PGMOL sent a nice apology letter yet, or is it that it's a service just reserved for the Sky 6? It's terrible, mate. It really is. The decision making was absolutely appalling. Egypt are now winning 2-1. Good evening to you, Sean. Thank you for joining, mate. Hope you're well. Foxes, come on, Ings is Trollope. He had half a decent match. That's it. No, look, Foxes, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying, he's our savior or anything like that. But if we can find ways to utilize these squad players, even when all our main players come back, and then we've got 20 minutes to go and we can do something rather than look how many of us say, what a waste. There's no point putting Ings up top on his own. He's never going to do anything. But if we can find alternative ways of using them, like putting Ings on as a number 10 to try and sort of like work behind Bowen or someone else, or if we can put on, if need be, or if we can bring on Johnson, to play in midfield the way he did, if that kind of thing works, then all of a sudden, isn't that what you want your squad players to do? You want your squad players to be able to come in and affect the game. And it's possible. It's possible that Ings looks like that it might suit him staying as a number 10 when needed. But don't get me wrong, I'm not suggesting for a moment that all of a sudden he's become what he was before. No, I don't think he's ever going to be the sort of player that he once was. But if we can utilize these players, the thing with Moyes is, though, he's got to not bring them on with 5 minutes left so that they can't affect the game. You've got to, when you need to change something up, and you bring someone like Ings on to play a little bit deeper, or Bowie or Johnson or any of the other squad players, then do it. rather than the last 5 minutes when it's almost all over. Toha, there is a bit more colour in Stel's cheeks. Oh, it's because I've got the heating on. Down 2-2, yeah, in Ghana. Mark, Peter, not sure about that. What did Peter say? We had that kid from Man City in the bag and he buggered off to Ajax. And then Mark said, Peter, not sure. He wants to impress for an England place. Roberts, no, let's scroll down a bit more. Garino, the Ghanaian keeper really effed up for the equaliser. Gives me Roberto vibes. Dear, oh dear. Toha, does Tim's brother carry his scarves for him or trail after Tim holding his scarf like a bridesmaid? Okay. Good evening, Si. I hope you're well. Right, let's go into what kind of like the first part of the, because we're going to talk a little bit more about the game. So let's start off with the team lineup. Look, we knew that there wasn't an awful lot of choice. You know, there was quite some like 5 youngsters on the bench on Sunday. So this is the best that he could put out. Areola in goal, of course, Sufal, Zuma, Mavropanos, and Emerson at the back with Cornet, Soucek, Ward-Prowse, and Fornals in the middle. Then you had Ings just behind Bowen. And then on the bench, you know, the choices weren't great. Johnson, Cresswell, Ogbonna. That was it, with Fabianski as our goalie, of course. And then Casey, Skulls, Orford, Mabama, and Marshall all on the bench. Now, there were people moaning, oh my God, he's not going to use the youngsters. He was never going to use the youngsters in this sort of game, to be quite honest with you. He was going to make the best of what he had available in terms of the senior players. But, you know, that's what we could put out, given so many players are away. Let's not forget, apart from players like Kudus and Agerd who are out on AFCON, we've still got a number of injuries, and Antonio, and Paqueta, etc. But it was good to see Jared Bowen back. Jared Bowen was back, and it was great to see him back, but he was rusty. You could see it's going to take him, now with another 10, 11 days before the next game against Bournemouth. At least he'll get a bit more training in. But it was good that we had him back. At least he kind of offers us something a little bit different up front. So at least we had a little bit more about us with Bowen back. Like I've mentioned already, you've got to respect Danny Ings. Sorry about the misspelling. You've got to respect Danny Ings for the way he played. And look, this is when we got the penalty, and the players were pointing to Ings to say, "This is the man that created." Ings created both goals. He was involved in both goals. All right, the shot where it deflected Cornet was from Ings, and then the little dink into the box. Trying to skip past the challenges, and he won the penalty for us. And you've got to respect. We, like I said, we give an awful lot of criticism when players don't play well, etc. But you've also got to give some respect for when the players do a half decent job. And I was pleased for Ings. I think a lot of us were. In the crowd, we were sort of like, singing for him and all that sort of stuff. And you've got to show, you've got to applaud when a player tries. Not for the lack of, he tried. At least he put effort in. And this is one thing, us as West Ham fans, the one thing that we really respect is when a player puts effort in. And Danny Ings did just that on Sunday. Who else? Maxwell Cornet got his first goal for West Ham. Is that going to set him off on a goal scoring spree? I'd love to think so, but I don't think he really did much more apart from scoring that goal. Great. He was in the right place at the right time, but he didn't really do him and Fornals. When you talk about the squad players and taking your opportunities, and over the past few weeks, we've talked about various other players who have taken their opportunities, like Ogbonna, when he comes on, never lets you down. Johnson, has played really well as well. And Ings showed some promise when he played. Cornet, at least he was there for the goal. Will that give an inspiration to get something more? I think we're going to have a few players back by the time the next game comes against Bournemouth. So this might be Cornet's swan song. I don't know though if he's going to go. We're going to talk about transfers and who might be going later on. Ben Johnson, like I've said already, excellent midfield display. Who saw that coming? None of us did. Absolutely none of us saw Ben Johnson. That we even thought that Ben Johnson could put a performance in like he did. But I'm really, really pleased for him. We've got to applaud these players. A lot of fans have been saying if you don't play them regularly, they're not going to get up to speed and all that sort of stuff. Now they are, because they've got the opportunities to play, they're all playing a little bit more football than they were. This is what Moyes has got to maintain. Moyes has now got to maintain that momentum. Even when we do get Kudus and Alvarez and Agurd and Paqueta and all those players back, he needs to keep these players involved. He needs to keep Johnson involved, and bring them on at the right time. But I was really pleased for him. I thought it was an excellent display. And ironically, we were beginning to languish in midfield. We were losing the game in midfield. Sheffield United had the better of it certainly throughout the second half. And we needed to stem that tide. And it made sense, given that Johnson played in the middle of the park. The display he put in, it made sense for us to take an attacking player off and bring a midfielder on, because it stopped that continuous move forward. That Sheffield had that control of the midfield, and we won back a little bit of the midfield when we put Johnson there. So well done to him as well. And then we came to we went a goal up. We should have held on until half time, but as usual, we're not able to. Ben Brereton Diaz, who I had no clue had been loaned to Sheffield United in this window, came up and he scored against us last time he played against us for Blackburn, and he came and did it again for Sheffield. So we should have hung on to half time for the 1-0 lead, but we couldn't. But there was nothing that any of us were really concerned about during half time to make us think that we were going to lose this game. And a lot of fans were saying, I'll take the point. I'll walk away with a point. I'll be happy with that before the game, but when you're a goal up, you start thinking, well, we should be holding on to this. And when it was half time, 1-1, we thought, okay, we'll still take the point. And then, of course, as the game wore on, the controversies started, didn't they? We got the penalty. Absolutely correct that was a penalty. You can't dispute that. That was a trip. And I'm not saying it because I've got clatter and blue tinted glasses on, but everybody could see that, Danny Ings was brought down. Absolute stonewall penalty. No one would argue with that. And then you started to get, as the game was beginning to come to the end, you started to get the dubious decisions. The first one was when the referee couldn't even decide that this was an absolute red. I mean, the foot was high. I think he sort of went in with both feet initially, and Emerson. I'm really glad that he didn't get any more. Well, he didn't get injured out of that, But the referee bottled it and only gave a yellow, and it was only instructed by VAR. Maybe you ought to go and have a look at this, and that's why he finally did, and he came back and he went, no, yellow card resent, wiped out. Red card was given. But that was the first of the dubious refereeing decisions. Now, VAR, ironically, got this one right because they recommended to the referee, you might want to go and have another look at that. And then it came to this. Now, look where McBurney's elbow is and how on earth the referee could give this as a penalty when Areola got his teeth smashed in is beyond me and beyond anybody. What on earth was it felt to me, look, just before that, by the way, we had a player sent off as well. Soufal got sent off for a second bookable offence. He argued about the Emerson tackle and got a yellow card. Just remember, don't do it. It's a pointless yellow card to get. And then, of course, he went in for a challenge, and that was a bad challenge as well. And he deserved to get a yellow card for that. So that was a correct decision. But this, for me, was baffling, because we're like, oh, well, free kick to West Ham. We were all in the under end of the pitch. And then he pointed to the spot. And we're all looking at each other going, what did he give that for? Because no one could see that was a foul by the goalie. If someone wants to argue with me and tell me the alternative in the chat, I'll read comment out later. But it was a shocking decision. Now, my theory is that the referee already went once to the VAR screen. I think he was too embarrassed to go and have a look at it again. But I don't even know if VAR even looked at this, because we don't know. You don't hear anything. So you kind of like to think that they did check it. But even if VAR checked it, doesn't that make it even worse? Because how on earth did the ref see that as a penalty? And how on earth did VAR see that as a penalty as well? And not again suggest to the ref, you might want to go and have a look at this as well, because it was the most bizarre decision, And then, of course, at the end of the game, 2-2, with God knows how many more minutes played. I think we were into something like the 11th, 12th. There were 6 minutes added on time. Okay, there were a few minutes added on top of that, because Areola had blood everywhere and all that sort of stuff. So there were a few more minutes. But this was something like in the 10th, 11th minute, where Jared Bowen got rugby tackled down. He got pulled down. Again, the ref didn't bother, or VAR didn't bother to say, you might want to have a look at this. Another very, very bizarre decision. And it became a game where it was all about the awful decision-making of the referee, of VAR, and I think what fans get upset about is VAR came in, for these sorts of things, to clear up indecision, but to also to help the referee get the decision right. So why is it there's such an inconsistency? Why do some decisions get suggested to be looked at and others don't? And that's the baffling thing. I think that's what upsets fans most of all. Be consistent. If you want to be consistently shit, then be consistently shit with VAR. But don't go 1 minute of decision, next minute you ought to look at it, next minute don't say anything, next minute, it's like, what is going on? What are the rules of VAR? Why is there so much inconsistency with VAR decisions? And look, like I said again, it's nothing to do with me being blinkered as a West Ham fan. That you could see that if he'd have gone to the screen and saw that, he would have seen McBurney's elbow in Areola's face, and he would have immediately gone free kick to the goalie rather than penalty to Sheffield United. If he'd have gone and looked at this, he would have immediately seen the defender pulling Bowen down. All we want is, if you're going to use VAR, by all means use it, but do it consistently. Don't keep, like that. It's so inconsistent and so frustrating. And I think that's what gets people really, really annoyed. Anyway, 2-2, as people said, would have taken a penalty. I would have taken a point before the game. All right. People are going, well, they're bottom of the league. What's wrong with you? Can't beat him. Even I'll beat him. And all. Look, I don't know how many teams are going to go and get positive results out of Sheffield United for the second part of the season. They're fighting for their lives. When you play in teams at the bottom of the league, sometimes you're going to get games like this. You are, and I don't think we sat back. I don't think we it didn't look like a Moyes ball type of game to us. It was quite entertaining. It wasn't the best game of football we've ever seen. It was a bit scruffy, it was a bit physical. But it certainly wasn't a West Ham just sitting back and absorbing pressure type of game. Far from it. But they're fighting for their lives, and I think a few other teams are gonna get roughed up when they go to Sheffield United for the remaining of the season. They're fighting for their lives. They're trying to stay in the Premier League. Look, any positives? Yeah, Ings, I think, like I said, playing in a deeper role, I think was a positive. Johnson was a positive. I think, when we've got that, this is what we want. We want the squad players to be able to help deliver, and I think they did reasonably well. Negatives, Zuma's becoming more and more of a liability. Our passing was terrible. It seemed that Mavropanos didn't learn from the mistakes he made the last few games. Soufal, bit petulant, shouldn't have got himself sent off, but he didn't have the best of games either. Souček went missing in midfield when you kind of expect him to have stepped up, given so many players were out. I think it was he didn't have a very good game either. Fornals and Cornet a little bit disappointed with both of them. Bowen was a positive coming back, and like I said, let's not forget. Someone else said it in the comments. When we get players like Alvarez, Antonio, Paqueta, Kudus, maybe Benrahma, but I think he's gone for good. And a Gerd back, we've got a very, very decent first 11. What we now want is for David Moyes to make sure he doesn't forget that he's got a squad there that he can use and keep them in the mix is the important thing. Right, I'm going to shut up because I'm talking too much. A little bit of update on injury news. So what have we got here? Well, we know that Alvarez has got a calf injury. There's been no date set, but from our understanding, Alvarez should be back for the game against Bournemouth on the 1st of February, which is what, 10 days away, 11 days away. So hopefully he's not going to be missing for too much longer. Paqueta, there's a very strong speculation. We've seen all his training, the videos that he's putting out. I think he's in Vinicius Junior's pad in where's he playing? In Real Madrid, in Madrid. He's doing all the training in his gym and all that sort of stuff. And our understanding is that he's very likely to be back for the game against Bournemouth, which will be fantastic news. Antonio, there's talk about him coming back soon, but I'm not so sure. The 1st of February may be a little bit too soon for him, but it's very possible that he'll be back for quite possibly, if not the game on the 1st of February, then Antonio will be back for the game after that. Possibly maybe the 11th of February against at home to Arsenal when we do the treble over them. Wouldn't that be nice? Who else have we got? What about a bit of loan news? And then I'll go back into your chat in a moment. Well, Flynn Downs, it was his birthday at the weekend, and he celebrated it by scoring a goal where they beat Swansea 3-1 in the EFL Championship. Now, I haven't looked at the table, but apparently, from what I've got on my notes here, they're now in an automatic promotion spot ahead of the Ipswich Town game with Leicester. Now, unless it's finished 1-1, I don't know if they're still there or thereabouts, but well done to them. They set a club record as well, and not losing for 21 games unbeaten. Well done to them. And Flynn Downs is part of that. I like Flynn Downs. I quite like him to come back and stake a claim in the club next season. Let's see what happens. Christian Heggie made his second appearance for Danish club Den Bosch, not Danish club, Dutch club, Den Bosch, in a 0-0 draw against Roda on Friday. He will return to action on the 26th of January away to Telstar. So well done to him. I'm glad he came in at the beginning of the January transfer window for Den Bosch, is now their number one. Thilo Kehrer was involved at the weekend. They progressed to the last 16 of the French Cup, winning 3-1 over Rodez on Saturday. He played the whole game, and they returned to league action against Marseille this coming Saturday. Bit of other news, bit of a roundup. The women's team think they're heading for relegation. Despite scoring 3 goals at home against Spurs, they still managed to lose 4-3. With only 5 points in the league this season, West Ham and Bristol City are adrift of all the teams above them by 5 points. There's a 5-point gap between West Ham and Leicester, who are just above them. Rhian Skinner, the manager of West Ham United. I don't know who thought it was a good idea in getting her to manage the West Ham team, because she only just avoided relegation with Spurs last season. But there you go. AFCON. It looks like Morocco and Naifa Gerd are on the verge of going through to the next stages of the AFCON. They drew 1-1 against DR Congo to top the table with 4 points. This was after beating Tanzania 3-0 last week, and it looks like they're through to the next round. And as you all know, I think it must have finished at 2-2. Kudus was selected again. He played the whole game, unless you tell me otherwise. And that finished 2-2. So they are at risk of potentially not going through. Right. Before I get onto the transfer stories, let's go back into your chat. Shane, Phillips will only come to us to raise his profile. Would be a waste of the loan money that Man City want. Stadium is falling apart. Apparently, yes, I've heard about that there's problems with the stadium. There have been problems with the stadium for quite some time, but it's not our problem financially. It's not for us to fix it. Montana. Still, this stadium saga just looks like they will end up giving us the stadium. It makes a lot of losses to the city. It's been making losses ever since it was built. Nothing has really changed. Yeah, it's interesting that this story keeps coming up over and over again, but nothing has really changed about the stadium. It is getting to the point of disrepair. Can you believe it? Apparently, the roof is leaking and stuff like that. It's down to LLDC to repair it, but they're broke because it is. You're absolutely right. It's making losses. West Ham United do not want to own the stadium because they know how much money it will cost to run it. What West Ham United want to do, I've said this quite a few times in previous shows in the past. What West Ham United want to do is they want to run the operational side of it. They want to run the hospitality stuff, where they serve the drinks and the food and all that sort of stuff. They want to run the operational side out of season, sort of in summer, etc., where they believe that West Ham believe they can make a lot more money in how the stadium operates and how it's run. But they don't want to own it. West Ham do not, because whilst they don't own it, we don't have to pay for stewards. We don't have to pay for security. We don't have to pay for an awful lot of things that LLDC are responsible for. We just pay our peppercorn rent, 3 million a year or whatever it is we pay, and that's us done. What we want to do is run the operational side. Would they end up giving it to us? They may beg us to have it. Would we want it? That's another matter. If new owners come in to run the stadium, as I said at the beginning of the show, doesn't matter what happens, who owns the stadium, the obligation for us to rent it on the 99-year lease or however many years are left is cast iron. They cannot get rid of that. It's a bit like Delaware North, who run all the catering. Even if they're doing shit, their contract is binding. Get rid of them as well. So there's going to come a point where a lot of the contracts will come up for renewal, and maybe that will be the time for LLDC or to look for alternative stadium owners, because then you could get someone potentially that might want to buy the stadium, but they'd want all the operational running as well, so that they make some money back. It's all a bit disparate. All these contracts that are out there are doing LLDC no favors at all. But to own the stadium, West Ham don't want to own it. They're not idiots. They don't want to own it. They would rather run it than own it, if that makes sense. Toha, if you have a growing playlist, I'm currently listening to Bauhaus Staircase by OMD. If interested in another interesting music, OMD, blast from Bauhaus, blast from the past. Ghana just blew a 2-0 lead, Brian. Yeah, my word. Gemma, Ghana are out. Kudus is coming home. I don't know if they're out. But I could be wrong. Yeah, Jerry, the stadium might fall down. So it won't fall down, but the roof needs repairing. John, we have squatters' rights regardless of what happens. Bang on. There's just no way they can kick it. There's no way they can kick us out of that stadium. We might be playing with a stadium without a roof, but that's another matter. Ghana not out yet. Yeah, agree. Egypt drew as well. Howard, does that mean we could put our trophy in the Spurs cabinet? Let's scroll down. Garino. Ghana likely to be out. Egypt now drawing. Was Michael Salisbury repping out there? Anthos. Moyes is the type that will fall out with anyone still. Stubborn old goat. And yeah, he is. We know that. He is stubborn. Don't tell me my Wi-Fi is gone again. That was a comment half an hour ago. So please tell me my Wi-Fi is fine. It's the last thing I need to try and fix the Wi-Fi while I'm feeling hungover. Tola. I will have a chuckle if Kane goes to Munich thinking they're a shoo-in for a league win and he ends up with nothing. Are Bayer Leverkusen still at the top of the Bundesliga? Ray, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Let me take this other opportunity again. If you're new to the channel, and you like what you hear so far, despite my being hungover, do hit the like button, please. Do hit the subscribe button as well. do subscribe to the channel and hit the bell notification as well to let you know when I'm next on. Like I say, it's free. You don't pay a penny for it. You become a subscriber. It helps me. And if it helps me, it means I can put on better shows. Not that I have done. My Wi-Fi goes down. My sound goes down. I get blurry because I'm too drunk and all that. But other than that, you'll enjoy yourselves. So do hit the like button and the subscribe button. That would be fantastic. Andos. We'll be playing at a local park. That's all Moyes is good for. Hackney Marshes. Why not? Bring it on. Hackney Marshes or ground share with, I don't know, Leighton Orient or something like that. Si, where's your comments? There we go. Transfer tug of war again with Moyes and Tim. Don't believe all this hype, mate. Like I said earlier on the show, it's much easier for people to sort of believe that there are problems with our transfers and Tim Steidten and David Moyes are at each other's throats. It sells, doesn't it? If it's bad news, it's going to sell. What we don't want to hear is sort of on the fence news and average news. GP, lots of lag, and I have to put still into 480p. I'm really sorry about that, people, because nothing came up to indicate that my Wi-Fi is down, so I hope it's okay. Hammerette, we weren't any better than Sheffield on the pitch, in my opinion. A draw was fair. What wasn't fair was the reffing. Level playing field, I think not. And this is the problem. I think had we had better refereeing, we would have won that game. Do I think we deserved it? A little bit. Hammer time. Kudus coming home. I'm not so sure, to be honest with you, if Kudus is coming home yet. I don't think they're out just yet. Garino. Mavropanos plays better with Oggy than he does with Zuma. I agree. I absolutely do agree with that. I absolutely do agree. I think you hit the nail on the head. Is he? I've got to have a look at the. Have I got that still up? Bear with me 1 second. So it's full time. It was 2-2. The squad, the group. Now, okay, Ghana have finished in third place, but my understanding is the best third place teams, I can't remember how many, will end up playing some kind of playoff, if my understanding is correct. So I'm not sure. I could be wrong, but I'm not sure if Mavropanos is coming home just yet. Peter, when teams have poor defense, it does affect the whole team. Even front players have to do more defending than they should. Our defense has not been great this season. It's been pretty bad, and it's been pretty bad because of our two central defenders. I actually do agree. Whoever said it just a moment ago, Garino, Mavropanos plays better with an. But I would give Bonner a run in the team. Because I think he's the most stable out. Look, he isn't the fastest, but he reads the game well. He moves quicker than Zuma does, and that's saying something. So yeah, I would give Bonner a run and put Mavropanos in alongside him. Martin, I really like the look of Ings playing as a number 10. It would be great to see him play regularly. He's an underused resource. I think it would be good. So, Trodge, Kudus was carrying injury for sure. That doesn't bode well. I don't think he'll play for Bournemouth. Did he come off in the game or did he finish the game? John, Kudus subbed off on the 89th minute when Ghana were 2-0 up and Mozambique scored 2 in injury time. Looks like Ghana won't go through as best of the... That's what I was wondering. Looks like... Great. So he's got 10 days to get better if they don't go through as the best of third place teams. Coming off on the 89th minute. Oh, that's a concern. That's a concern. Mark, stashing a run bottle and a hedge for later. Proper wino. Sean, sign the Ipswich manager, Kieran McKenna. They play great football. Now, here's an interesting thing. Don't they play a similar style to us? Sort of men behind the ball, counter-attacking football and stuff like that? That's what I thought. Could be wrong. Brian, Ghana aren't definitely out yet, but it's unlikely they'll progress to the last 16 with just 2 points. That's what I was. So I'm not sure. Mark, now we find out he locked in an odd bins. GP, I want Kudus to win it. His value will skyrocket even if he's a top scorer. Well, I'm more worried about the fact that he came off on the 89th minute. That's a concern. Brian, I think Cornet played okay versus Bristol, a little better than versus Sheffield. With a goal, I truly believe with a few more starts, he becomes good enough to start or at least be thought about. That's what we want, isn't it? We want our players to be a consideration. We want Moyes to be able to turn around, look at the bench and go, I've got options. That's what we need, isn't it? Let's scroll down. Trini, the ball only hit Bowen's hand because he was being exactly. It hit his hand at the end. It didn't hit his hand first. Lee, I haven't a clue about this team. In gets fed the ball and looks good. Johnson plays in midfield. Why has it taken so long to find this out? Mate, if only any of us knew. I mean, that was the surprising thing about it all, wasn't it? That there were two revelations in that game, and Ings as a number 10 looked good. Johnson as a central midfielder looked good. You're absolutely right, Lee. Why did it take so long for it all to work out like that? Victor, I think Moyes will play two holding midfielders in Phillips and Alvarez, just like Southgate did with Rice and Phillips for England. Look, I don't mind that because I even said even that works, and in that respect, you say you play a 4 at the back, two holding midfielders. That means your front 4, and that's what I will call him. It almost becomes, rather than the 4-2-3-1, it almost becomes a 4-2-4 because you've got two holding midfielders in front of the back 4. That means your attacking players, your 4 attacking players, can mix. One can move from left to right to middle, etc. That could work. That's proper counter-attacking football. That would be. Let's scroll down. Good evening, Peter. I hope you're well, mates. Yes, it looks like we're waiting, won't we? We'll probably know. We'll be a bit clearer. Have all the third games been played now, or there's still 1 or 2? I'm guessing there's probably still a few games to play before we know if they're one of the best of third place. But yes, we would love that, wouldn't we? Well, no disrespect to Ghana. I feel sorry for them, but to have Kudus back, he was in substitute at 89th minute. Someone said, I hope he's not still carrying that knot, but it could be a concern. Oh man, good evening to you. Can we have Johnson in midfield instead of Souček? Option, isn't it, mate? Absolute option. Neil, I don't believe Moyes can progress the team from where it is now. Do you? It's people have been asking that for so long. I don't know anymore, to be quite honest with you, Neil, because when we're on song and we see what we can do to teams, like what we did to Arsenal, what we did to our Spurs, etc. I say to myself, there's so much this team can offer. And then when we see, some of the turgid football that has been played, the way we played against Bristol, the way we played against Liverpool in the Cup, etc., and you ask yourself, is this as far as it's gone? It's a conundrum, and I honestly mean that. It's a real conundrum. He's got players that we know can do exceptionally well. But unfortunately, you can't just rely on your first 11 because of what's happened. International duty, injuries, etc. For me, he has done what's needed to be done. But if he stays, we will go backwards. Phillips doesn't excite me. Phillips doesn't excite me because he's not a flair player, an attacking player, but it makes sense to me. It makes a lot of sense in terms of what we can do with the team with someone like Phillips in it. I'm not expecting him to be marauding forward, scoring goals, but it will give us different options. It will even give us options of how let's say, if it's not a 4 at the back with a 2 defensive midfield, he could go with a 3-5-2. He could go with 3 at the back, 2 holding midfielders, the other 3 midfielders helping attack. So it would give him more options. So I see the point of it, but it took me a long time to get my head around it. Trodge. Jose's charisma would be better doing the interviews for, well, if that's all we want him for interviews. Peter, even to you, mate. Just back from the pool and exercises. I hope it's all going well with the knee, mates. Garino, Ivory Coast and Namibia have 3 points already. There are 2 other groups with teams on 2, 1 group with a team on 1. So we just need 2 out of the 3 to pick us some more points. So it looks like he may be coming home early. Anthos, that rum story reminds me of the days when trying to sneak a bottle inside Samantha's or another club in my youth days. Where's Samantha's, mate? It sounds familiar. I wonder if depending on where it might be, I don't know. Oh, man. There was a lot of rubbish on the pitch on Sunday. I don't just mean the players. Well, the referee was pretty shit, wasn't he? Talked about that earlier on. Paul, too much money for Phillips. Wages will upset the others. I don't think it will, to be quite honest with you. I don't think players really think that way anymore. You know, all players are on bonuses and stuff like that. You can even it out quite easily. You know, if Phillips comes on the 135 grand a week he's on, I bet his bonuses will be a lot less than, say, I don't know, Paqueta is on 100 grand, who will get bigger bonuses. I think they can kind of work it out. Early doors. Good evening to you. I hope you're well, mate. Thank you for joining. Trodge, did you hear that the manager was attacked? Are you talking about the Ghanaian manager? I know Houghton was abused, wasn't he, after the first game of the group stage? Christ, who would want to be the Ghanaian manager now if they go out? Montana, still, if we get an Asian player, let's get a winger or a forward. Defenders, I'm not so sure about. Do you know how desperate that the news stories have got, mate? You know, because I was looking for stories today and I read it, the one about the two Asian right backs, and I went, is that where we've got to with our transfers? Brian, Re-African Cup of Nations, last 16 qualification. If third place teams are level on points, it's goal difference, then goals scored, then disciplinary record. We might be saying hello to Kudus sooner rather than later. Trodge, ex-Premier League manager Chris Houghton attacked by fans after AFCON's AFCON defeats. Yeah, that was at the beginning of the tournament. Yeah, I did read about that. That was last week. Let's scroll down. GP, last time Spurs won the league, man hadn't landed on the moon. Montana, still, we need those fans and management forums like back during the Redknapp's time. Moyes and the board are really dithering. There is a fans forum. You know, I can't remember what guys it's under now, who meet regularly with West Ham United, the directors and all that. But I think it's an awful lot of lip service. I don't think they get much involved in how the club is run. I think there's a lip service on, you know, should we have the London on the crest and go back to the old crest and stuff like that. Important, but fundamentally important now? I don't know. Hamret, I didn't know Kudus and Neymar had words previously. Kudus telling him that he isn't any better player, that he isn't a better player than him, just a higher profile. Wow, I didn't know that either. Who else have we got? Debbie and Mark. Just realised Ghana conceded those 2 goals a minute after Kudus got subbed off. Yeah, poor Ghana. Poor Houghton. John, Michael Salisbury was VAR official Palace versus Everton when Calvert-Lewin was red carded. He was indeed, following a VAR review, which was then overturned. How shit can you be before you actually be told you're no longer going to be part of the refereeing duties or VAR duties in the Premier League? He's not up to that standard, is he? Not up to that standard at all. Mark, phoning on TalkSport summed it up. 6 years of VAR and they still can't get it right. When is the time to change it or bin it? You know, you tell me, because if, you know, what I think is even more upsetting is when we saw VAR being used in the World Cup last year, it was used in such, there was hardly any controversy or none that I remember, and it was done quick. It was like that. You know, VAR decision, it went to VAR within seconds, within a minute. There's a decision came back, and I can't remember for the life of me anything being really that controversial. I could be wrong, but I don't remember any controversy. It's the way it's being used here. I don't know what happens, you know, with VAR in other leagues abroad, but it's the way it's being used here. There's this mentality with the refereeing and those who are managing VAR. I think we've always said, have an ex-player, have ex-players in the booth. You know, don't just have all these official, you know, just, it's the same ref on the pitch that's on, you know, and then 1 week is on the pitch, next week is on VAR duty. You know, they've got a mentality of how the game is done. Use ex-players in VAR. Get a different opinion. You know, have those debates, but have those with someone who's played the game. Let's scroll down. Mark, trying to catch up, and then I'll go into the last part of the show, which is all about transfers. All those transfers. Mark, I think the refs, mate, on VAR only wanted to send him to the screen once. It should have been 3 times, but he didn't want to. Exactly that. So I said that earlier on. Exactly that. Bill, Cornet nearly got a second if he read Bowen's shot come across, just gave up running. See, got to be sharp. Early doors. The worst thing yesterday was we couldn't pass 5 yards to each other. We were shocking at times. I agree with that. I do. I totally agree with that. Our passing was awful. Martin, F. Phillips blanked us too many times. Plus, he has not played enough and is injury prone. And that's true. Yeah, it's true. But let's see what happens over the next few days. What I've been told is we're nearer to signing Phillips than anybody else at this moment in time. But if Phillips has had his head turned yet again, I think we should just give up the ghost on that one. Lord Patrick, sorry I'm late, guys. Had to grab a doner kebab for myself, salad and chili sauce. The works. Could do one of those now, mate, after the night I've had. Welcome, Lord Patrick. John, Trod, I don't think there's anything crooked going on. It's just extremely poor governance of the refereeing standards, VAR officiating by PGMOL, crap training. I don't want to be that conspiracy theorist. You can't help thinking that, though, when decisions keep going against you. But I agree with you, John. I think the way it's being used, the way it's being interpreted is terrible. Let's scroll down. Who else have we got here to try and catch up? Montana. Brereton Diaz was lively, but he didn't do too much after that, really. What happened to the Jonathan Rowe rumours still? Pick a name, mate. Jonathan Rowe, Jack Clark, all these players that were meant to have signed. Apparently who was it? Ibrahim, I can't remember his surname, the Ghanaian, the young Ghanaian. It was apparently our number one target. Where are they? This is the problem. I say it, and I'm actually annoyed with myself because I've actually put in a bit of detail about the two Asian guys that we're apparently rumored to be interested in. And I know that ain't going to happen. And I'm annoyed with myself. I did say I was only going to talk about players that I think we've got a good chance of getting. Phillips is one of them. But we're nowhere near any of the others. You're absolutely right. Jonathan Rowe, Jack Clark, where are they? We're still trying to decide. Apparently, we're in for 20 players. Do you believe that? I don't. Absolutely don't. Early doors. Still, Emerson was lucky if his studs were planted. That's an ankle breaker. Totally agree. Good evening, True Culture. I hope you're well. Not sure if I'm the only one that thinks Bowen finishing was very bad yesterday. It was rusty. No, you're not wrong. He was rusty. He's just come back from injury, and he gave as good as he could give, but he was rusty. Montana. Still, are we still monitoring Carrick? No, he's good. I'm sold. If he knocks out Chelsea in the Carabao Cup, he will have major suitors. Yeah, that's another thing. No, isn't it interesting? About it, just like the transfer window, about all these players that we're linked to. We're linked to all these managers as well, and nothing comes of it. Carrick, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the Carabao Cup. It'll be interesting what happens, see what Middlesbrough do. They were close last season, weren't they? They didn't start off too well. I think they picked up this season in the league. But no, apparently we're not monitoring Carrick. Hammerett. Second yellow. Soufal was stupid on this part, but the first given for gobbing off when ref only gave a yellow for the studs up tackle on. This is it, isn't it? The inconsistency. Then change it to a red. Fair play to Soufal. Soufal to go, but sometimes you just got to keep him out. That was such an unnecessary yellow card to get. Mark. Trudge, I needed a West Ham win for an accumulator. Cost me 86 quid. I was counting my money. Then injury time happened. Never bet on West Ham to win. Paul, game yesterday, 6 minute added time. Soufal sent off +7. Penalty +13. Corrupt. Everyone could see that was a straight red, apart from the referee, which was, incredible. Let's scroll down. Sean. Signing an English midfielder on loan for 6 months from a Manchester club who sits on the bench. I've seen this film before. Yeah, good point. We have been here before. Good evening to you, James. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. I'm beginning to will. I can feel it in myself, and I do apologise. Dermot Gallagher on Ref Watch on Sky said the Sheffield United penalty was wrong. West Ham should have been given the Bowen penalty. Exactly that. You look at the images that I put up earlier. You could see it straight off. What is it that the ref didn't see that we could all clearly see? Let me see if I can bring those up again. So there's the first one. This is the challenge on Areola on McBurney, apparently. Like I said earlier in the show, look where McBurney's elbow is, right in the face of Areola. And if you actually watch the video, if you actually watch the game to see how McBurney fell, he dived. All right, midway, but it looked like he made the most of it. You got, how was that given as a penalty against us? And then the image that you could see here, look at the player, look at the defender. It's not even looking at where the ball is. All he's focused on was just bringing Bowen down. How could that not have been given as well? Incredible. Sometimes you look at these decisions and you just ask yourself, what on earth is the referee looking at? But more to the point, if the referee doesn't see it, what on earth is VAR looking at that doesn't suggest that the referee should have gone to double check that? Hammer it. Pratt that fouled Bowen at the end, posted a pic of his foul playing WWE soundtrack in the background. That's a fucking piss take. He should be charged for that. He should be, he should be banned. The fact that he knew he got away with it. That's, the referee should, the Premier League should now do a retrospective, do something. Ban him for 3 games, for clearly demonstrating that he was taking the piss. Let's scroll down. Early doors. He is also saying that media used Photoshop to make him look bad. Man's a fool, makes him more of a twat. Totally. Good evening to you, Lee. I hope you're well. Toha, Sufal had gone off the ball a bit since the contract extension was such upset. Yeah, he has, but you're a professional. You're meant to sort of carry on playing. If you want to prove that you've been wronged, with your contracts, prove it on the pitch. Don't sulk. But I think you're right. He has gone off the ball a bit. Trodge, I don't even know what handball is anymore. Do you? Well, that handball and Bowen was only because he was pulled down. That's why it hit his hand. Paul, Sufal first yellow. Think ref confused with Socek. James, how do you keep people interested that aren't up to the required level to start games? Well, we talked about this earlier, James. And don't use them for just 5 minutes of a game. If you plan it and bring on subs, do it earlier. Do it 15 minutes to go, 20 minutes to go, or whatever, and make these players feel that they're actually part of the game rather than bringing them on almost as if it's a bit of a token gesture. Mark St. George, good evening to you, mates. Sorry, but this time you're talking bollocks. We're winning 2-1 with the B team against the bottom of the table team. 2-2 is not a good result when we've been robbed by... Well, like I said, we have been robbed, and yes, you're absolutely right against the bottom of the table team, but that doesn't mean we expect to go out there and win it. That's not how the Premier League works. It's never been how the Premier League works. These are the teams that are fighting for survival, and they're going to give us games like they did. Should we have beaten them? Yeah, I do think that we should have done. Did we get robbed? Yes, I do think that. I think we actually did get robbed by bad refereeing and bad VAR. Shaky. Football is a simple game that's been made more difficult with rule changes to make the game quicker, yet having the opposite effect. Get back to basics. Yeah, it's gone slower with all VAR taking forever. John, apparently Sufal had a pop at the ref along the lines of, I told you so, when he changed the card to a red. Well, he was right. Trodge, I would have training sessions where you chip it up into defenders' arms instead of crossing the ball. Yeah, interesting. Garino, PGMO, MOL, and refs need to focus on teaching and learning the rules of football respectively and being consistent as individuals and as a group. But refs are rarely punished and nobody. Well, they get a 1-game ban, don't they? They told, oh, you're not going to ref, and then they're back again. Ban them, three strikes and you're out. If they fuck up, 3 times in the same season, tell them that's it. You're not refereeing anymore. Ipswich are back up to 2nd by point. So I'm guessing that means Southampton are back down to 3rd. David, Moyes had 3 years and over £400 million sort out a squad, took the confidence out of Fornals, Johnson and Ings, probably their best games yesterday. He has spent a lot of money. I don't disagree with that. We have lost a lot of money, but this is why Tim Steidten is here, to try and make sure that we don't keep squandering money. Early doors, give the 4th official more power. 100% agree with that one. What does he do there? What does he do? What about the Bristol game when that young lad hit Creswell around the head, and you saw the fourth official mouth, "Oh wow," or something like that, and nothing happened. What's the fourth official for? What's the point of the fourth official? He can see the game better than the ref and the VAR idiots, and get into the ref's ear and say, "You just missed, mate. You fouling the player, no agreement." Totally agree. Totally agree. Johnson is not a not right back. Not anymore. He won't be. Stel, what's wrong with Rio and his mates? They're all hell bent on patronising us regarding Moyes' dribble tactics. I think they see it from the outside in, don't they? You know, I've got, you know, I'm sure you guys have got a lot of mates who are not West Ham fans, and they go, "What are you all moaning about? What's wrong with you? You're sixth in the league. You're through to the last 16 of Europa, etc." They don't see what goes on because we live in our bubble, don't we? And we see it day in, day out. We live and breathe West Ham, and you know, we see the way the game's being played. We see the Moyes' tactics, which upset us, etc. Fans outside, you know, even the likes of Manchester United, Rio, just see snapshots, I guess, or they see the headlines. You know, West Ham United are sixth in the league, and West Ham United are through to the last 16 of Europa League, and all that sort of stuff. They don't see the rest of it, so they go, "What's wrong with you? What do you want?" You know, and I've asked that question sometimes, but you know, I see the point. I see when we play really poorly, when we sit back and defend, when we should be trying to go on the attack. I get why that upsets fans. Absolutely, I totally agree. But I think the likes of Rio Ferdinand and various others who are outside of that bubble only see the snapshots. And so they're going, "What's wrong with you? West Ham are six. What's wrong with you? West Ham through to the last 16. You know, so I get why they make those comments. It's not really to patronize us. They're just not seeing that they're not living and breathing it, are they? The way that we are. Was Rio ever a West Ham fan? Was he? Or was he always a Man United fan? I don't know. Steve, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Can't wait till all this transfer window bollocks is over. Did tell you, I did always say not to sort of listen to all the shit that comes out there. You know, our top, this is going to be our top signing. This player is going to be our top target. John. Stel, so what happens if LLDC can't afford to repair the stadium and it fails its safety inspection and it has its safety certificate revoked? We would have to move temporarily elsewhere until it's fixed. Be the only answer, unless we offer some money to pay for the repairs where it could become favourable to us. I think Karen Brady is playing a typical game with LLDC. There've been many talks in the past about, trying to get LLDC about naming rights for the stadium, about us taking over the operational aspects and all that sort of stuff. And they've always gone, no, we'll do it all ourselves. Look how many years it's been. How long have we been in there now? Since 2016, etc. And they still haven't got naming rights. Brady has offered, but then, she wants it on her terms as well. It could get to the point where we might have to bail out LLDC in terms of spending money on the stadium, but it will be favorable terms to us. That's what she's waiting for. She would love it if the roof caved in, because she'll turn around and go, "We'll help you fix that for a little fee and for a little favor here and there. And this is what we want." It wouldn't surprise me if that happened. Let's scroll down. Excuse me. You know what I'm going to do? I need a drink of water. I really do. Shaky, if we left the stadium, what's our options and where? Ground share until something else happens. Right, let's go into the final part of the show so I can actually have a sip of water. Right. The final part of the show is where you get to hear of all the players that we're not going to sign. So let's start, shall we? So what have we got? Well, I think the first thing we need to do is to look at, why don't we look at the players that are rumoured to be leaving? I'll come back to the players that we're rumoured to be buying. Let's start off with Now, we've heard of all the stories over the past few weeks. Excuse me. Trying to drink the water quickly means I spill it all. We've heard all the stories that a Gerd doesn't want to play for us and all that sort of stuff. Now, as the time wears on, we're not likely to be moving a Gerd on until this summer. It's very, very possible that we will sell him, but we're not going to do that during this window. I think we can't afford. Yes, there may be still one or two players leaving the club, but a Gerd is not likely to be one of them. Given the issues that we've had, we've all, talked about it tonight about, Zuma can't carry himself, that his knees are fucked. Mavropanos can't pass to his own player. Ogbonna at this moment in time, for me, out of the four central defenders we have, is our best central defender. And that's saying a lot, given that he's, 35 years of age. So a Gerd, a lot of stories about him leaving. And yes, I can see that happening in the summer when our prime targets are going to be more available. So whatever happens at this moment in time, a Gerd won't be leaving in this window. Saeed Benrahma, the last straw was clearly the sending off against Bristol City in the Cup last week. I think that's the last thing that he's done for West Ham United. We are expecting offers. We're expecting possibly Marseille to come back in. I don't think we want to sell him to the likes of Brentford. We'd rather not sell him to another Premier League club. If we do, it could be to a team that's a lot lower down the league than us. But we will listen to offers. And as I said last week, even if they're loan offers, so long as an obligation to buy is where I think we're going with Benrahma. What a shame, really. But, it is what it is. It's such a shame because he had a great opportunity, didn't he? Like all the squad players, with all the players out at the moment for one reason or another, he had a great opportunity to really demonstrate to Moyes that he'd made a mistake in dropping him. But unfortunately, not to be the case. So I do expect an offer and for him to be leaving before the end of this January transfer window. Ben Johnson, we talked about him a lot during this show, and it looks like, by the sounds of it, from what I understand, that contract talks are going to resume, but not till February, which seems to clearly suggest that we're not going to let him go in this January window. I think Johnson, as I said earlier in the show, has demonstrated how, he is a good footballer. Again, someone who's been hindered because of contract negotiations. Didn't realise just how much of an impact that could have sometimes on a player. Is that right? Is that wrong? I don't know. But it looks like we're going to be starting contract talks with him again in February. Let's come back to him. Let's go to the main players that we're going to sign, shall we? First of all, we've talked about it already. Now, from what I understand, initially the package to sign Phillips was considered by the senior source at West Ham United to be too expensive. As you know, apparently City wants £7 million plus to cover his £3 million wages for 6 months. Now, I'm confused. I said this much earlier in the show. I'm confused about the loan price. Apparently, we would not pay as much as that. From what I kind of understand, it will be a £7 million package all in, which is a loan plus his wages. Now, if that's the case, £7 million all in, I'd be like, do you know what? Let's just get it done. Let's get him in. He'll give us options. Get it out of the way. It will ease the nerves a little bit. I know he wouldn't be everybody's first choice signing. And I even said myself, if we're going to be signing anyone, it's got to be a left-sided attacking player. But those rumours are sort of like shortening as days go by. So my understanding is we will be signing Phillips, even though his head may, according to the latest stories with Juventus, may be lurking. Apparently, he will be signing a contract with West Ham United. Joseph Pencil, one of the Ghanaian, Kudus' Ghanaian teammates. Apparently, there's interest in Pencil. Do I believe it? I don't know. I think Pencil's an interesting option. I don't know if I believe that the rumours that are out there. and I've been looking at his stats, etc. So in this window, in this season, Pansil has played 29 games in total, 9 goals, 5 assists for his club Genk in Belgium. Now, do I think he's the sort of player that would suit us in any way? I'm just not sure. I think he's just yet another player that's been sort of thrown in there just to sort of keep us busy. There's nothing about him that would suggest to me that he will be worth signing. He's worth about £8-9 million in the transfer market. He plays primarily out on the right side. He can play as an attacking midfielder. He can play on the left as well. I was looking at some of his details about his playing style and all that. And this time last year, Leeds United were interested in him. So, it was a championship team that was looking at maybe signing him. He's talented. He's 25 years of age. He's got plenty of years ahead of him. He has played in the Champions League, Europa League, the AFCON, of course, etc. And he's got skill about him. He's got a little bit of the Antonios about him in his stature and kind of the way he plays. He's probably got a little bit more technical ability than Antonio. He'd be an interesting signing. He wouldn't be one that I would be going, oh my God, we've got to get him in. But he's another player that we've apparently been linked to. Done that. And let's go to these players because it's quite interesting. When I don't mean it when I say, you're scraping the bottom of the barrel when you start looking at players that, you just think to yourself, well, how much element of truth is there in this player? Yukinari Sugawara. That would be interesting if we did sign him. Yukinari Sugawara. There you go. Look, decent player. He played against us when we played AZ Alkmaar. Did he play against us? Was he in the team? Well, he plays for Alkmaar anyway. He's 23 years of age, Japanese international. He's a right back. We're talking about getting a right back replacement. He's worth about £13 million in the transfer market. He moved to Alkmaar in 2020. He's still got a contract with them until 2025. So maybe Alkmaar might be looking at getting some money back for him. Apparently, Tim Steidten is out in the Asian Cup or whatever it's called, and he's looking at potential signings over there, and he's one of the names that's come up. I don't know much about him, to be quite honest with you. If he did play against us, I genuinely can't remember. All I remember is when I was looking for a photo of him and I was looking at my back catalogue, his name appeared. So clearly we've been linked to him before. So it's not the first time that we have been linked to him. I don't know enough about him to suggest whether he'll be a better player than what we've got. But certainly younger, certainly someone for the future, without a doubt. So there's a possibility. Would it get done before this January window closes? I couldn't tell you. And there's another right back, Young Woo Sale, is a South Korean international. Another player, 25 years of age. A player on par. If you compare them between Sagawara and Young Woo, you would like to suggest that Sagawara is the better of the two players. He plays for Ulsan Hyundai. He's been with them since academy days. Again, I don't know too much about him, but again, these were the ones I read about today. I need to do an awful lot more research, but I'm just wondering if there'll be any point in doing the research, because I'm not 100% convinced that we're going to be looking at someone like this player, Young Woo Seol. If of the two that we're really interested in, I would go for Sagawara, because he's playing in Europe. He probably be a better prospect as a right back replacement. And there's only one other player that people have been asking about, and that is Victor Bonifaci. Now, it's really interesting that we're in for a player who is actually out injured. and probably won't be back until around April, May time, because he's got a long-term, he's got an abductor injury. He's not coming back anytime soon. So I think it puts pay to that. Uh, we're not in for a player that's out injured for quite a long time. Bonifaci, 23 years of age. Of course, we're linked to him because he's from Bayer Leverkusen with the Tim Steidten links, etc. He's valued at something like £35 million. But the fact that he's out injured, he's missing AFCON, and the fact that he's out injured suggests quite clearly that we're not going to be buying him anytime soon. I wish there was more news and better news to bring you when it comes to transfers. And I always say to you, don't believe everything you hear and everything you read, because, sometimes, sometimes there are stories out there where it just makes you think people are clutching now. This is the prime signing. This one's going to be the one that we're going for. This is a dead cert. It's a nailed on. The only one at this moment in time that I keep being told is anywhere near close to signing for West Ham is Kalvin Phillips on a loan until the end of the season. I do not know the details of the deal, whether there will be an obligation to buy or anything like that. Kalvin Phillips wants assurances. The first thing he wants, beyond anything else, is to get game time. He doesn't want to be going from the Man City bench to someone else's bench and sitting there hoping to get game time. It's the Euros this summer, and obviously he wants to be part of the England squad. And he kind of is beginning to realise, I can't remember if Southgate said something in the press recently, but it's beginning to dawn on Kalvin Phillips that his England days might be numbered if he doesn't play. And I think he will get game time. David Moyes will use him in the West Ham team. He'll utilise him far more than he would be if he stayed at Man City. Right, let's go into a few more of your comments. Mark, there are a couple of lads from South Korea. Don't know anything about them, but if Truman works out, we can count the commercial money. That is the one thing about signing with the greatest of respect to them. I don't mean it in a horrible way, but it opens up the Asian market, doesn't it? Selling shirts and all that sort of stuff. Peter, there was a story about London clubs might be made to pay for policing outside near stadiums. Possibly, but that is the responsibility of the stadium owners at the moment. Well, actually, no. A lot of clubs, we used to pay for the policing when we were at Upton Park. So it is the responsibility of the stadium owners. James, I heard via another channel that there was Tilbury mentioned in a possible site. I've got no clue whatsoever. I think take it. I don't mean it bad because, we all get given bits of information. Every channel you watch all gets given a bit of information. And I can't say, in all honesty, that their information is right or wrong. I'll ask and see what information I get. But at this moment in time, the stadium's not shutting down. The stadium is not in total disrepair. There are stadiums around the world that are in a lot worse setup than us. If it becomes an absolute health risk, that's a completely another matter. But as I said earlier in the show, I think we might do a deal with a stadium in order to help them sort it out. No. Wi-Fi is fine, lagging slightly, but it's good. I'm pleased. Thank you. My Wi-Fi is good. It's good to know. How far behind am I? Not far. So let's get through these comments. Bill, Hackney Marshes. Many an ambulance was called for me on those pitches. I didn't play that many times on Hackney Marshes. Julie, I need to get back to football. Can't afford to fly King TV again. Come on, Julie. When are you coming back? Let's scroll down. Mancunian Hammer, good evening to you. Absolutely disgraceful that Kudus went to the African nations, a joke of a tournament. If he's injured, they should have to pay compensation. Well, they do. International, we do get covered, but that's not the point, is it? We don't want the money. We want the player. But they will cover his bills. Oh, actually, no, maybe not, because he was injured beforehand. So would they argue? But then they shouldn't have picked him, should they? So in that respect, you're right. Let's scroll down. Keith Gillespie, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Not that sexy today, mate. I don't feel it. Si, Ghana are 5th place in the race for best 3-place teams. They're out then, aren't they? Kudus should be playing. You heard it here first. Kudus should be playing against Bournemouth. Montana, still, any updates on the new FIFA calendar? Why do we need 3 breaks of 2 weeks between August and November? Just make January a month break. I don't know if they're talking about, I know it's been raised several times about trying to play internationals or condensed rather than sort of spreading them out throughout the year. But I don't know if anything has happened about that, to be quite honest with you, mate. But I'll try and find out. Trod. Kudus out for 1 month at least, and Sullivan decides we can't afford to sell Benny. What are the odds? Benny's going, mate. Scott, even if Kudus is out for another month. I'd like to see a mid of Alvarez, Souček, and Phillips with Paqueta in the 10 spot. JWP can come on for Pac-Man. That depends on us getting Gnotto from the left. That's another one that I've not, there's comments about Gnotto coming in and then it all goes quiet. It's possible. Apparently, like I said earlier on in the show, apparently we're looking at 20 players. Sigh. If Algeria and Zambia avoid defeat tomorrow, Ghana are out. Yeah, that's cleared that up. Thank you. Let's scroll down. Clive just got back, and there are around 200 watching that haven't hit the like button. I'm coming around each of yours. Tap the like button. Please hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. And if you want to hear my dulcet tones again, hit the bell notification to let you know when I'm next on. Let's scroll down. Ray. I'm concerned about the uncertainty regarding our home. It won't be long before we're sponsored by the big issue. I think it's been, look, I don't want to, I will check, but I don't want to, I think it's been blown out of all proportion. I'm not suggesting that the stadium doesn't need repair. We know apparently it does need repair, but it's not beyond repair at the moment. So I think it's been blown out of all proportion at the moment. Steve, I'm a bit pissed tonight. I'm allowed, seeing as it's my happy birthday, Steve. Many congratulations. That's why I drank an awful lot of rum yesterday, in anticipation of your birthday. Happy birthday, mate. I hope you're having a good one. Mark, ITKs haven't got a clue. They saw Steidten in a Korean restaurant. I like that. Best comment tonight. Let's make sure I haven't done my audio in. I haven't. That's good. Anthony. Getting an Asian player would be beneficial for shirt sales and revenues for the club. Absolutely, it will. And if they're a good footballer at the same time, then all the better. Keith, Steve Tyler, at our age, we're allowed to be a bit pissed all the time. On birthdays, double that. Happy birthday. It's me, Sam. Good evening to you, mate. Phillips still only makes sense if it guarantees Souček gets dropped to the bench. As people have been saying, you'll end up seeing Alvarez in the back three, Phillips in the middle, alongside Souček. Early doors. Spurs have a few Chinese outlets in the stadium, so it would be extra income for the club, raise our profile in Asia. Absolutely. Sorry, VAR for East betting. Yeah. Let's not go down that rabbit hole. I get what you're saying. Peter, some Spurs presenter on TalkSport said he was celebrating when Sheffield penalty went in, thought they didn't care about us. Of course they do. They can't stand us. Epic. I have the perfect idea. Moy should leave coaching behind and become a VAR ref. Scott, in ice hockey, they have a team of people watching. They get it right 99% of the time, and hockey is a lot faster. There you go. I still think we should have ex-footballers in that VAR booth. Hammer it. Tati could well be dropped and brought on at last 20 minutes. We've been subbing him off more this season than ever under Moyes. Times are a-changing. Ronnie, did the rum catch up, mate? It did, Ronnie. It did, mate. I left you some on the train, mate. I'm still hungover now. Good to see you, though. Good to see you. I'm sorry I didn't do a video. I didn't do a video with all you lot. I kind of felt that there's quite a few of your mates that weren't really up for it, so I thought I'd best leave it, and I was pretty pissed. And you asked me the question. I don't know if how long you've been watching the show, but you asked me the question about the stadium. So I'm guessing you heard most of that. I don't think we're going to lose the stadium. I know it needs a bit of repair, but it's not to the point of it being in disrepair. Ryan, who does Phillips replace in the team? I I genuinely think he would end up going in the back. I think Alvarez would end up going in the back three, and Phillips goes or back two, sorry, and he'll probably drop Zuma, Mavropanos, or whoever in the back. That's what I'm thinking. Queenie, Bella, Tiamoa. Good evening to you. What do you mean just because he's your player doesn't mean you should disrespect his country? It's time some people stop discriminating and put respect on our tournament. Damn. I don't think he meant it. He made it. He meant it in that way. I think he meant it's good for us because we would have Kudus back sooner rather than later. Mojo, good evening to you. Osman would go into the under-21, so not immediately an immediate impact. Can't see it in this window. Talked about that last week. That was his surname. Couldn't remember his surname. You're absolutely spot on. I said that myself last week. If we went for Osman, who was apparently our number one target, if we went for him, he'd more likely come into the under-21s rather than to the senior team. James, Moyes just followed Wild. I'll replace the goal scorer. Good thinking, Moyes. Moyes followed Wilder. I'll replace the goal scorer. Good. Well, it kind of worked, didn't it? When he brought Johnson on, kind of it gave us a bit more stability in midfield. Trudge, how many days do they take to negotiate from 5 mil loan free from 7 mil? I think it's going that, like I said earlier on, I think we're likely to get him as a package for around about 7 mil. Let's scroll down. Who else have we got? Excuse me. The loan for Phillips is probably the right move, especially if the board are undecided on Moyes' long-term future. Absolutely. Good point. I can't remember when I said it, maybe last week, that if it is undecided about David Moyes and his future, it would make an awful lot more sense to get loan signings in now, making sure that you haven't got an obligation to buy at the end of the season. Because if Moyes doesn't stay, then you're not obliged to have players that he bought in. Absolutely spot on. AJ, good evening to you. Big fan of these live shows. Thank you very much. Love your opinion. Much appreciated. Why haven't really pushed in the Asian market? Well, that's a good point. And I think that's where they're trying to make amends now. There are some world-class technical players, cheap as well, and plus a deep fan base. You've hit the nail on the head on all of those. And I think with Steidten is spreading his wings. Apparently he's out at AFCON, but then so's Rob Newman, apparently. Fuck me. The whole fucking scouting network is going to be out at not AFCON, sorry, the Asian Cup. But you're absolutely spot on. Actually, talking of which, I've completely forgot to mention, we have signed someone, haven't we? I've completely forgotten his name. He's the technical scouting person from one of the German, from Werder Bremen, who knows Tim Steidten from the past. He does all this analysis, the analysis scout, etc. So we have signed someone. I don't know if you said, God, why did I forget to even put that? Forgot to even put a photo of him. So we've got this this tactician who does all this analysis on footballers, etc. that's come in. Now, we wouldn't have brought someone like that into the scouting network if we weren't sure that things are changing in terms of how we recruit players. Now, there was a story earlier on as well. This is how shit I've been today in planning for this, that apparently Tim Steiden's brother is apparently going to be joining the scouting network as well. I know nothing about him. Didn't even know Timmy had a brother, but there you go. So there are changes afoot. There are changes in how we're going to be recruiting players. And AJ, as you've just said, the Asian market is going to be quite likely to be one of the areas that we're going to be looking at. You know, we've already made inroads with Ted Lasso, the series that featured West Ham United quite prominently. So we've got the American market that we're building up an interest in. We've got quite a big following in Europe already with Scandinavian Hammers and all that sort of stuff. You know, we're making inroads into Africa, especially with signing Kudus being a revelation in that respect. And now we're also looking at the Asian market. You're spot on. I'm going to put that up just to, cheer myself up. All banter, love this channel. Thank you very much, Shaky. Much appreciated. Queenie, even as a Ghanaian, I'm happy he's back for West Ham. Come on, you irons. Thank you, Queenie. Much appreciated. And hopefully you didn't get offended. And it wasn't meant as an offence from Mancunian Hammer. NWO, they're all pro Premier League footballers. They have to be of a standard. Yeah, agreed. Audi, good evening to you. It's such a shame where our game is going. It's official. Its officials are tainted. Are we not allowed to threaten top form? I know a lot of people think that. You can't help feeling that's what's happening. I don't want to think that it's all conspiracies, but when the refereeing was as poor as it was, you can't help feeling that way. James, 3 weeks in a row, shite refereeing doesn't help as often to the top. Doesn't happen as often to the top 6 or 7, does it? Exactly. It's what a lot of people are suggesting and saying. Hammerette, I can't think about the Tony saga. Really pissed me off. Disgusting how he's treated Brentford and fans. Gambling, cheating, getting paid, comes back, made captain, and then cheats again. Yeah. I mean, it's the stuff that he said about, maybe playing for a bigger team, etc. I mean, he's only been back 30 seconds. All of a sudden, AJ, the summer window needs to be invested wisely. I believe we should integrate so many more youth players in the bigger games, plus young technical players that will allow our front three to kill it up top. If they're good enough, I believe they will be used. I really do. John. Still, not only is what is the point of the fourth official, but what's the point of the assistant refs these days? They can't even call it. Well, that fucks me off as well. Sorry for swearing, but that does piss me off. They stand there, they look at the ref to decide what to do, and they like, you've seen what's happened. It's either a away throw or a home throw, or it's a foul or whatever. But they look at the ref to make a decision. You're absolutely right. Lucius, good evening to you. Just listening from the start, you should know at your age the hangover will be 3 times as long. I do know, mate. I really do. NWO. We're punching above our weight again. Give Moyes some bloody credit, people. Well, we are punching, but as I said at the beginning of the show, we look bang average when we don't have our top players around, unfortunately. We're a mid-table team. Let's scroll down. Where am I? Close, but not close enough, because I'm wilting so badly. Good evening to you, AOC at Autos. And when he uses those players and we lose, it's his fault. Let the guy manage the team. He knows a hell of a lot more than the idiots who want him out. Good point. I find it hilarious. When we lose, it's because of Moyes. When we win, it's despite Moyes. We know that's not true, don't we? What else have we got? The Gorilla Glue Arena. I think that's what the Super Glue Arena is what we need. Andrew, Johnson deserves a new contract. All he wants is 60k. Just get it done, especially when we're supposed to be playing Danny Ings 100 grand a week. Look, I don't know what players should be worth paying, but with bonuses, he could easily earn that or more. Bill, Benny seemed to change when he started showing off his new girlfriend. Didn't look like someone his mum approved of. Didn't know that. I thought he was married, wasn't he? Is he not married? I thought he was. Maybe I'm wrong. Don't know much about their private lives. Let's see. What else have we got? Let's scroll down. Bill. Watched Gnotto closely when we played them last season. Didn't impress me much at that game. Yeah, otherwise we'd be all over them, wouldn't we? If they're players that we thought could really make a difference, we'd sort of be all over it. Mark, good money in Asia. When I was traveling around South Korea, stopped in a little town and there was a bloody Chelsea shop. See, you should just replace it with a West Ham shop. Mojo, John Pansil must be in his 40s, so we'll be bargain. According to the stats, he's only in his mid-20s. Who knows? We might get his older brother for all we know. James, just can't wait for a watch along with Stel with these players. Funniest commentary ever. I know I can't pronounce their fucking names. I know that. Richard, good evening, mate. Surely we need to look at players from our own league or the Championship, the overseas leagues. They're not on the same level. It's not just that. But do you remember what I said at the beginning of the transfer window when we were talking about homegrown players? That's another reason why when we start being linked to all these players, like it's gone, European players in Europe, and then it's players from Africa, and now it's players from Asia. When at the beginning of the transfer window said, we're going to need homegrown players, because when we lose players, we have to replace them with homegrown players. Connor Coventry is a homegrown player that's now gone. So either we replace him with a homegrown, or we're one player down in our, we're allowed a 25-man squad. We'll only be allowed a 24-man squad if we've only got 7 homegrown players. And if we've got 6 left in the squad, that means we'll be down to 23 players in the squad, and so on. So we're going to need homegrown players. That's why when I read the stories about, and everyone getting excited, we're going for the Asian market, or we're going to get, Bonifaci, or we're going to get this player or that player. And I'm looking, homegrown? No, they're not homegrown. Likelihood of getting them now? No, because we're going to need, it's not just a be all and end all. We can just have a 24-man squad. If we lose another homegrown player, we can have a 23-man squad. If we lose another homegrown player, we'll have a 22-man squad. But at some point, if we want a 25-man squad, we need 8 homegrown players in it. Hammer it. And that's another reason why I think Phillips is going to be signed. He's a homegrown player. Not only, we might have to swallow the cost, because we'll be bringing in a homegrown player, that will up our homegrown tally. Hammer it. Half a season left, and Phillips will most definitely improve what we have. It really is a no-brainer. It would work. It would work. Mark, Trodge, you heard it here first. It's stuck in my bloody head now. What did you hear first? I don't know. Did I say something? They're all pretending to be injured to avoid signing for us. Sigh. Sagawara played both games against us last year. Okay, I thought he might have done. I couldn't remember. But he didn't stick in my mind. I can't remember if he was any good. Bill, remember a story of a half a greyhound being found in a freezer of takeaway? What on earth? What angle are you going in now? Oh, you're going to get me in trouble, aren't you, with all the Korean jokes and stuff? Again, Phillips will be such a decent signing, especially for Europe. West Ham will pay about 5 mil and 100 grand a week. Apparently, we're not even going to pay. I don't know. James, still, he'd have to take Souček off, then won't happen. Well, like I said earlier, if we buy Phillips or if we bring Phillips in, I'm virtually guaranteeing that Alvarez will go in central defence. John, still, you have let us down badly. Not a word about our only signing. That's him. Maximilian Hahn. I knew someone had come up with the name, and I'm glad I remembered it. I couldn't remember his name, but as I said, he's fuck knows what he does. He does all the technical. I keep saying the word technical. He does all the scouting. He uses all the sort of analysis, stats, and all that sort of stuff. And that's who we brought in. Thank you for reminding me of his name. Did you see they had 60 coppers to confiscate Palace drummer? Did they? Early doors. Still time for me to go. It's time for me to go as well. Always thank you very much. Thanks again. If though you're hanging, take care. Thank you, mate. Much appreciated, and thanks for watching. Ray, I like the idea of scouting South Korean players. Hopefully we can. Trini, a bit rich to say AFCON is a joke. Do you think the same of the Euros? Now, I whoever said that, I hope you apologize, because it's not a joke. John, morning, mate. I hope you're well. Thanks for joining. What is the West Ham way? I don't know anymore, because the West Ham way doesn't mean what it did mean when I was a young lad, when I first started supporting West Ham United. It's changed a lot. Who else have we got? NWO. Still, train drinking rum from the bottle like a drunkard. I didn't drink it from the bottle. I didn't drink it from. We did have cup. We are civilized. We did use cups, and we had mixers. Mark, Phillips would replace Souček. Moyes wanted a midfield of Rice and Phillips. He was prepared to drop Souček then. Let's see if that happens. Trini, if we get Phillips, Moyes will go Phillips and Alvarez, and between JWP and Souček gets dropped. Guess who? It is Moyes after all. Mark, wait 20 years after the stadium was built and buy the LS for 100 million. What do you think? It's been before. Great show, etc. We're not buying it. We're not buying it. We're not buying it. If we buy it, we'll buy it for next to nothing. Because they'll be begging us to take the stadium off them. Mark, don't need an Asian player. Just bring it out an anime hooligan movie, just like Green Street got the American supporters. Ken, the Premier League hate the fact that that their big money teams like Man U, Chelsea are lagging. That's why we get poor VAR decisions. I know a lot of people saying that. Yeah, I know, and it's hard to sort of like suggest otherwise. Sorry, Mark. When I lived in Asia, I'd done my best to recruit. There's a Thai lad in with a West Ham tattoo after a drunken night out. In the Philippines, my sports bar was covered in West Ham shirts. There you go. It's the best way to get people. Just go and threaten them when you're abroad. Wu only scored 5 goals in over 100 games. Eben, we also signed Steidten's brother. Yeah, Steidten. I don't know if he's already come or he's about to come. I know there was a story about him joining the scouting network. Toha, do you think Kenny is acting as David's agent? Don't know, just speculating. Apparently, he was there, wasn't he? At the game before at Sheffield United. So all this speculation about all these scouts that are coming in, etc. Breaking West Ham aside, Fukin, no one in Seoul. Ayok, Lino should have called that red card yesterday. Cost us a ban for Sue foul. Yeah, I agree. What do the Linos do? It's weird. Paul, West Ham could not afford, the running costs and yearly maintenance costs. No, we don't want to pay him either, to be quite honest with you. At this rate, what has he got to do with the club, though, still? What has he got to do with the club? What has who got to do with the club? At this rate, will it be after Wu-Tan Clan? We will end up with Sacco. I see. I'm done. I'm so tired. I really am. Kenny, I don't know. I wasn't that interested. What Kenny's got to do with West Ham? Right. 2 hours, 11 minutes. People, honestly, if I don't get to bed soon, I will fall asleep in front of the screen. Thank you all for joining. Thank you all for watching. I wish I could bring you betting news on the transfer window. Things will happen. I promise that they will. They may not be all the things that we want, but I think things will happen. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for joining in. Thank you for making me laugh. So that's always worth it. Have a great week, everybody. And yeah, I promise next time I'm on, I won't drink almost a whole bottle of rum by myself before doing a show. See you all very soon. Have a good week.